Okay, so I'm about to run through just a sort of a quick version of the psychedelic artwork and how I work with it. I do it in Photoshop, as you can probably see. Unfortunately, the screen capture tool only gets like the sort of the canvas area, not all the tool sets, but I'll try and talk as I go. I start with 5,000 by 5,000 pixel grid. And I put two guides in, one in the center horizontal axes and one in the center vertical axes. I've already got an image in mind that I want to use, so let me bring that up now very quickly. Bring that in. If you haven't heard of it, stocksnap.io have some amazing images on there. A lot of them are, I think, royalty license free, so by all means double check that if you want. But there's some really cool shots on there. I just like to play with something that I find interesting and then start flipping from there. So what we've got here to start with is a nice image of like a snow covered landscape with obviously either a sunrise or a sunset glow that looks pretty damn amazing. And when I find elements interesting like this, I can see potential to start really working some magic. So the first thing I'll start doing is really just start working with this image to start with. And I'm just going to copy and paste and flip it so we start mirroring each other quite a bit. Sometimes, as you can see, sometimes I'll leave like a pixel gap between elements to kind of build this geometry in. But as I'm just going to start with the first element here, I'm just going to, let me just open that up better, there we go. Keep it real simple to start with, so merge that. Again, just going to carry on copying and pasting different pieces. Flip vertical, beautiful. Merge that down. Alright, so I've got that, it's now starting to already look pretty cool right off the bat, but I'm going to generally do this a couple more times, just to ensure that we're not got anything overhanging there too much. And again, one more time this way. That down as well. Beautiful. So I've actually got quite a big image that I'm working with now that's going to give me some real interest to start with. Now, I'll quickly go back to the grid here. This grid I'm going to use to, when I start building my whole psychedelic piece out from there. And the whole idea with the psychedelic is that it's reflecting in 6 different locations, or probably 12 if the truth be told. You could adjust the angles to suit your own interests. You could go more or less what I'm going to go to, but just understand the rules of what I'm working with. So if you understand, obviously, if we divide a 360-degree circle or square, for better terms of what I'm working with here, by however many points you want to work with, I generally work with 6, and you'll see why it gets to 6 in a moment. That equates to 60 degrees. So when you start working with the piece here, when you rotate this, we want to rotate to 60 degrees. And what I then do is just shrink this down. And what I'm looking for, you see this little point just here. I'm going to look so that sits on the right edge of my canvas. Just come down a bit more, and also the top point. So this point and this point, I'm working with what I want to do. But I'm just going to make that a bit bigger, so I've got a bit more room to play with. So there's 2 points I'm going to go. So I'm just going to just ensure that angle is consistent there. Control A, copy and paste. Hide that for a moment. I'm also going to grab this angle just here as well. So if I just bring that off, control, copy and paste again, and I'll hide that one for the time being. Alright, so now that I've got this piece, I'm going to start building the whole shape up. So let me just start by flipping this horizontally. And this is where I might sort of leave some lines in. So we'll just bring this bit right up here, right into the guides to start with. The same with this piece here. Okay, cool. So there is almost this tiny line in there to start with, and that might just purely be the edge of the image, but I'm pretty sure it's not. There we go. Now we're on there, bang on. So I'm just going to move this 1 pixel to the left, and the other layer 1 pixel to the right, and what I get is a 2 pixel gap between both images, and that looks very nice and subtle at the moment. But sometimes I will sort of do this whole process 2 or 3 times over and work from there. So going back to the angles, what I've actually now got is like 1/6 of the final sort of, full 360 degree piece that I'm going to work with. So with this here, I'm just going to basically duplicate that whole thing. If anyone wants to know, just press the Alt key and just drag your mouse. You can press Shift to keep it on nice and straight if you need to. I'll just delete that layer quickly. And then again, just all I'm going to do is just flip vertically like that. So again, because I wanted it to have this nice gap between the two, just for these geometric lines to appear. I'll get the top layer, 1, 2, 3, 4, move it 4 pixels. Bottom layer, 1, 2, 3, 4. And what that does, it generally, as you'll see now, so I've now got 2 of my my sifts that I need for the full 360 degrees. I'm going to merge those down, duplicate that layer, and again rotate 60 degrees. And because I've moved the 4 pixels, you can see I've got this nice line that's appearing between all the elements from there. So again, I'll go through the same process, duplicate layer, and again rotate 60 degrees. Alright, so this is now starting to formulate, starting to formulate a nice psychedelic piece of art therapy, because I don't sell this, it's just for fun, just when I see an image, just to keep me sane or keep the insane flowing, whichever way you want to look at it, completely up to you. And now from here I'll generally start to play a little bit more. So I don't mind this image, it's looking quite cool, but it's kind of a bit simple for what I like. Bearing in mind we're working with 5,000 pixels, so as I zoom in 100%, that is the center point at the moment. And to me it's kind of like, yeah, it's okay, but that's a bit wishy-washy. There is some nice little stars, shapes developing here, and I'm really, I really fell in love with the Metatron cube when I saw that originally, and it's kind of, that's why I kind of go with the 6 angles. So if anyone's unfamiliar with the Metatron cube, just go and Google that. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about, and I generally try and use that as a bit of a basis for all of my psychedelic artwork. Okay, so what I'll do from here is I might sort of say, okay, cool, well now that we've got this, let's duplicate this down that way, and we're going to marry it up along this edge here as well. So you might have to zoom in here just to try and ensure that we've got like a nice alignment going on, because it's a bit harder when we're working on the angles. It's almost there. I might just be able to go. And I'll do exactly the same thing above. So again, just pressing the Alt key. It'll probably be the Mac key for Mac users out there. I do apologise. Hope not to offend anyone if you're Mac users. Okay, so you can see what I'm doing here is I'm now building like this shape out a little bit. We've got some nice lines happening. I will probably merge those bits down. I might bring it across about here. And again, I'm going to copy all of that, paste, just hide that previous layer. Bring that other unused layer up above there for now so I remember it's there. We're going to shrink this down again. Just go a little bit smaller than that. And drag into here, and I'm going to repeat the process from earlier, just basically copying and pasting. And do the same thing this way. Again, this is really just trial and error. There is no specific format. It's whatever suits you, whatever floats your boat. You know, just find something that you're happy with, that you kind of enjoy working with, and use that to kind of guide your artistic endeavor. So again, I've just added like a little 1 pixel space there, and you can see, I'll just merge that down. We've got this beautiful sort of diamond shape happening right here, and it's now starting to look pretty cool, regardless of what I'm going to do to it next. So now that I've got this piece, I might just do one more duplication this way, and again I might just throw like a nice line in there, and then with this in place, maybe we'll go one more top to bottom just so we got a bit of choice, and again we'll throw a line in there as well. Merge down. Okay, cool. So again, I'm going to go 60 degrees in the other direction. Doesn't matter which way you go, it's all going to do the same thing. I'm just going to scale that down. Okay, cool. Now that's maybe becoming a little bit more complex than I would generally want to play with, but it doesn't matter too much at this stage. So again, we'll just hide some of these elements. Be aware if you're working with Photoshop files like this, it's probably going to eat through some hard drive space and RAM. A little shout out to the new AMD Ryzen 1800X core that I'm running here. And a fairly new PC build as well. So this beautiful little beast can handle quite a bit, and I use it a lot for my proper work and video editing as well. So just be aware, obviously, if you want to do some real big stuff, you can do it smaller, but big stuff's going to really chew through some resources. Okay, so we're back to this point here. I'm going to probably add some more geometry lines in, and obviously because every level I do is scaling the previous one down, you get these really fine, let me just zoom in, you can see we've got these real fine lines here and this thicker line through the middle, same with the fine ones there. So you're really sort of creating a level of depth within the whole piece as well. Okay, so I'm going to merge that down, again same thing, flip, vertical, I'm going to go zoom in again. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Merge those layers, duplicate, rotate by 60 degrees. And same thing again, rotate 60 degrees. And now we should start seeing this come to life a little bit more. So there we go, you can start to really see. Now this is generally far more complex than I would normally do, but at the same token it's still pretty cool nonetheless. Again, with units alone at 25%, so if we were to zoom into 100%, you can see you can really sort of see how the sort of star shapes are starting to form. Now I would probably say, okay, cool, that's enough of that from now. So let's just merge those bits down, and then I'm going to start playing from here. So I'm going to duplicate that to start with. Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes there's just too much detail in there, which I fear we may have going on here, but we'll try regardless. So basically what I've done is I've duplicated the whole shape, and so if I zoom in you can really see. I've just shrunk it down to sit over the top of the previous layer. I might, let's just stick this up here, and just bring the light through. So I've just changed, and this is where Photoshop's really nice, is you can play with the layer options quite easily, doing it from this part here. So screen, multiply and overlay are the main three that I use in this instance here. Go back to screen quickly. So for those who don't know, screen essentially wipes out the black in the top layer, so the black becomes see-through. Multiply does the opposite of that, so it takes out the white and you get a darker image. An overlay seems to be a little bit of everything, and you create a different image there. There's probably some Photoshop gurus who know the exact terms to use. I know what it does, so I just play with that. So now that I've got this image at the top, I'm going to probably try and align it nicely with lines here, just because I think it looks kind of nice to pull those things together. And again, I might not even use this yet, I'm just playing at this stage. Okay, that should roughly be aligned. So again, we're lining up at this cross section here, and ensuring this lines up on this nice axis just there as well. Okay, so merge that, duplicate that, rotate that again 60 degrees, and then go through that process one more time. And we're now starting to build this nice sort of dynamic shape. Remembering we started this as just a winter snow scene. That's what we started from, and we're just kind of going deeper and deeper into the image. It's almost kind of like fractals, but obviously quite different at the same time. And then from here I'll just carry on playing again. So I might duplicate this same image, and I'm going to probably shrink this down to around, we'll try 20%, there we go, beautiful. Zoom into that point just there. So this is now 100%, and you can see where I've taken that down. I'll just zoom out a little bit more. And you can start to see we kind of get these levels of geometry starting to appear. Sometimes it works straight off the bat, sometimes I want to sort of keep twisting and turning things, so that gives me more of a star, it gives me more of a sort of, you know, a greater sense of depth in the shape. I may even sometimes duplicate it another time. Just duplicate that layer straight off the bat. Zoom in quite a bit. Width 20%, 20%. And you can just see there how obviously, I mean, we're at 100% right now, so we're not going to see any more detail by zooming, it just becomes blurry. But, you know, we're starting to build this nice kind of like depth and level within here as well. It all kind of just complements each other quite nicely. From here, again, I might just rotate, depends on what I'm trying to achieve. I quite like how that's looking at the moment, which is pretty cool. Okay, so I mean, this again. There's a lot here that's probably far more complex than I would like to do. So what I might just do is just bring this the other cut that I made from the shape initially. Let me just merge some of this down so that it's not merge to there, merge there. Good. We'll just turn those two layers off. We'll go back to this one. So this should give us like a nice sort of simple piece to work with here. So even though I've started this one at a slight different angle, the concept's exactly the same still. And again, I'm still playing, like it's really, there is no rule, there is no set way to do this. It's just have fun with it. It's just whatever makes you feel good. You know, if you want to do it as something more than just a hobby, fair play to you. For me, it's just really a bit of time out from normal work that I do, and just to keep me inspired from. Okay, so zoom in. I'm just going to make sure this is right smack bang on. Now, for some reason, sometimes I will just go a little bit closer from there. Again, merge that, duplicate the layer. I'm going to rotate that 60 degrees. I'm going to rotate it again 60 degrees. Beautiful. Now, I'm actually preferring how this is looking versus what I've been working on previously. Just quickly go between two. To me, that's far too complex. This has got some real nice subtle qualities going on right now. So maybe again, this is trial and error. Whatever you fancy doing. There's no rule, as I've already said. It's whatever makes you feel good. Hang on. So, okay, so I'm gonna just and you can really sort of see like these fine lines are here. They're going to pretty much disappear at this point because the piece is so small. Just to make sure it's done. Okay. And again, we're just going to pull that down. Okay, so I've just merged it with the outside part because again, there might be, it's obviously cropped a bit funky there, which is annoying, and there as well. This is just for demonstration purposes. I'm not going to worry too much about it. Might even maybe make it useful somehow. And what I'm starting to see now, this is starting to look quite cool at this point here. So I might just copy and paste that, or what I might even do actually, rather than just grab the whole lot, is just grab an element. So let's just try and let's bring in half of that right now. So you can copy, paste. So again, you can go 30 degrees, or if you come from another angle, you can go 60, whatever works. I mean, one of these is going to be 30 degrees from there. The point is that you're able to get this kind of shape that you can duplicate and copy and paste sort of 6 times over. So let's work with that. Horizontal. Stuff better now. So many times you can get that right by now. Okay, beautiful. So we'll merge those down. We've got these nice subtle lines appearing. This is something quite cool. So this is where I might sometimes go, oh, let me hide that one, bring that one back. Maybe we'll just try and just see how that looks. I mean, that's gone way too complex, but you can kind of see the level of detail that's appearing in there at this point. And again, we've got these nice lines happening. We've got this kind of geometric feel. But again, that's far more than I would normally like to do. But you can play with multiply, you can play with screen. That's probably a nicer look just because lighter, you're able to make more sense of it. But again, it's all up to the individual, what they're working with. Another way to go would be just we'll make that normal. And we're just going to shrink this layer down, transform. Let's just go 50%. Maybe even down to 30%. There we go. Okay, beautiful. This is starting to look better. Okay. And again, I'm just going to feather the edges just to allow for a little bit of better blending. 50 degrees. Just delete that a couple of times. What I might even do here is just pull that in to the edge. Duplicate layer. 60 degrees. One more time. Duplicate layer. 60 degrees. So we've now got, I'll just merge those layers together. We've now got a little bit of that massively complex background coming through, sort of around that part just there. It actually looks pretty cool to work it that way, so keep it a bit simpler on the edges, obviously more complex as you're going in. I might just duplicate that, and we're going to shrink this down to 50%. Maybe we'll even go 30%. There. I think this one's probably slightly off center as well, but it looks things. And again, I'll probably, this one I'll try maybe play around a bit more because I quite like these concepts here. So we'll throw that there, marry it down the bottom. Merge that down, duplicate that. Again, 60 degrees every time, not 45. Duplicate again, 60 degrees. Beautiful. Merge all those bits down. And I sometimes will then go and say, well, let's just put that at 30 degrees just to balance some of these elements out and make some of these pieces a bit less harsh on the eye. Alright. This is just me really having to play whilst trying to commentate, so my focus has not been as great as it normally would be, but hopefully it just gives you some ideas on how to develop these yourself if you wanted to. It's pretty straightforward. I mean, this is 100% zoomed in. Let me just hide the layers just so you can see. And obviously you can see the level of detail that's in here. Again, you can almost make out the trees and some of the snow initially, but it's just become so abstract now that it's hard to know where it originally started from. Some of these angles aren't going to be perfect because I've just thrown this together quite quickly, but you can kind of see where I've brought these elements in, and it just kind of adds different levels of depth. The lines kind of create some nice symmetry points in here as well, but it really is whatever you want to do with it. Have a play with it, have some fun.